Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Let's get straight into this Game Jam 4 overview, October 2023. Even though it's November 2023, drop a like if you enjoy the ramble and be sure to subscribe. Today, we're talking Old School's 4th Game Jam and taking a look at some of its pitches. But as we enter the last quarter of the year, it's time for cozy socks, warm blankets, and Old School's 4th Game Jam. Game jams are our sort of new and improved ideation process where J-mods across the team join forces and create awesome content pitches. We're talking devs, community managers, QA, art, and more collaborating on passion projects that will hopefully one day make their way to the game. Later this year, we'll have a live stream where we'll look at the projects in greater detail. But for now, we have a chunky overview of everything the team's been working on. This Game Jam's theme was sailing themed. The brief was simple. Design things that make the seas of Gilnor feel alive and provide some interesting and notable new areas to explore. To be clear, we did not address sailing training methods. That's what the core sailing team are working on. Next week, you'll find out more about our proposed timelines for sailing and what we're doing next. Broadly, the Game Jam focused on 3 kinds of content. Islands and points of interest at sea, standalone content that can be placed at an island or point of interest, POI, got it. Traditional content that can be placed at an island or point of interest. Of course, we also had a few more general projects in the mix. Keep reading to see them all. Before we kick off, however, please remember, all these projects are just concepts that are not guaranteed to enter the game. I'm still going to cry when they don't enter the game, or not all of them, of course, but let's see. None of this content is confirmed for the game, and no team has been given time to refine these projects just yet. If you like the look of them, please do let us know, but don't expect them to come to the game anytime soon, if at all. As for the previous Game Jam projects, rest assured that we haven't forgotten about them, and some of them have even made it to the game already. The others are still being reviewed, and we do take your feedback about them into account. We'd like to remind you that we want to hear directly from you about each of the Game Jam projects, so like the previous iterations, we've put together a handy survey for you to give us your feedback per project. Take a gander and then click the link to fill out the survey. As always, guys, this whole blog post will be linked in the description. So if you want to fill out the survey, just click on the blog post down in the description. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter while you're down there as well. And then scroll down to the bottom and fill out the survey. Alrighty. Rune Pouch Bank Integrated. I saw this on Twitter. This is fucking awesome. By Modash. One of the biggest quality of life suggestions we've seen over the past few years is being able to freely interchange your runes inside of the bank. Well, during this Game Jam, Modash took it upon himself to make just that. This feature is built for your convenience and allows you to get runes in and out of your pouch much easier than before, and all while inside the bank interface. Not only will you be able to put specific runes directly into the pouch, but there's 4 handy loadout options for you to customize. Speed up bossing, farm runs, take a look. Oh, and more, take a look. So yeah, this is really awesome, especially the loadouts, because what this kind of looks like for those listening on Spotify. By the way, all of these rambles are on Spotify. So again, down in the description, boys, go click on that if you want to add that to your podcast player. All right, but it looks like the loot bag from the wilderness, where there's like a little highlighted circle around it. And it looks cool because you just click on it, and then obviously I'm pretty sure at that point you just click the runes from your bank in, but there are 4 loadouts that can be like saved and stuff. So pretty cool. This will be really, really nice, honestly. Like you're gonna have that phase of like getting used to it, but then as soon as you're used to it, it's gonna be awesome. Lighthouses by Mod Melia. Am I saying that right? Who knows? We don't yet know about navigating at sea will entail, but Mod Melia, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, has had a real light bulb moment. It's likely that the seas of Gilnor will be dangerous. Sailors may find themselves navigating open waters with no land in sight and perilously low draw distance. The last thing you want when you're trying to keep an eye out for the rocks and sea monsters is to have to open up your world map or else stick to the familiar safety of the coastline. From the west of Relica comes an illuminating solution to this problem. Lighthouses. Nah, that makes too much sense. Keep it out of RuneScape if it makes it, but nah. No, seriously, this is a brilliant idea, honestly. This is something that it's already in the game, just integrated with sailing. That's perfect. Mod Melia's project explored how a few strategically placed lighthouses might allow players to sail more efficiently and provide new and interesting gameplay to boot. She's designed a potential sailing HUD featuring compass points, the sea, and the horizon. For now, lighthouses are displayed as circles. The flashing pattern and size allows you to identify a lighthouse at a glance, and they get bigger and higher on the HUD the closer you get to them. Different areas around the lighthouse display different colors to indicate danger. So you'll know right away if there are rocks on the horizon. Don't worry, in the final version of this HUD, we'll be taking red-green color blindness into account. Here's what the interface might look like in-game. In this example, sailing from the Karamjan shipyard to Port Sarum is as easy as lining up the Sarum's Gate and Willow's Beacon to set a course. Of course, you're free to leave the HUD unopened, although that would be the equivalent of not looking at the horizon while on a boat in real life. By the way, am I supposed to say HUD or am I supposed to just say HUD? I feel like HUD's like more appropriate, but who knows? I don't fucking know, to be honest. Somebody let me know down in the comments. Okay, so again, he's not even on a boat, or what? He's teleporting. Oh my god, this thing looks. Listen, guys, this is just something for Jagex. Don't show this off. This is just no. I'm kidding. For most players that understand this game and the system and what they're dealing with on the developer's end, like we understand this is just gonna look like dog shit until it's fully released, basically. But for like a new player, like what am I looking at? Like this looks awful. So yeah, just keep in mind this will obviously be polished, hopefully. Again, this interface is not final. They do have to say that. That's smart. All right. Lighthouses aren't just for finding your way around. Here's how we could expand the system for different kinds of content. Puzzle and quest sections where the key to navigating treacherous waters is to follow a set of instructions using lighthouses as landmarks. Navigate treacherous waters, chart the path, and then build new beacons to open traffic to other boats. Is that a lighthouse or a pretty cyclops lady winking? Huh? Better go look. Do we want to signal sea hazards and points of interest? Do we want to have buoys? Yeah, that's right, right? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. And other sea marks. See them mapped on the world map. Don't make fun of me too hard in the comments, guys. I'm still trying, you know. I'm learning. Lighthouse. It is buoy though, right? I said that right. It's just like such an odd word to look at that buoy. Like it looks like buoy, you know. Like Chef Boyardee. I don't fucking know what I'm saying. All right. Lighthouses open up all kinds of opportunities, but we're still considering what the best way to implement them might be. We'd really like to hear what you think of them and how you'd like to see them used. Just literal paint. Yeah, still cool though. I like it. Sailing Islands and Dungeons by Mod Necro. We want the far out waters of the Big Blue Sea to feel alive, a living environment full of wondrous creatures, mysterious objects, and many, many interesting areas to explore. This time, Mod Necro's Game Jam project aims to give you a taste of what kinds of places you might encounter while sailing. First up, we have Crab Isle. Again, one of these words, obviously I know Isle, but what is English? Like, come on, Islay? Like, a small island untouched by human hands, but not crabby claws. Here you'll be able to collect special bait found exclusively on this island and use it to summon the giant crab boss. Defeat every level 1 RPG player's worst nightmare. 1 RP is what? Or defeat every level 1 RPG play. I don't know what I'm saying. And you'll obtain treasures and some tasty crab meat. Gross. Okay, so what the hell is that blue thing? Next, we're venturing to what we've dubbed the Lost Chasm. This desolate island has almost been lost beneath the waves thanks to a lingering evil hoping to return to its powerful demonic form. Venture deep inside and discover the mysteries of the depths if you dare. Okay. Revenant Island by Mod Banked. I've had him on the cast, by the way, guys. Very early on. You guys should go back before. You know what? He was not a JMod at the time. I got to get him on now, but he's post JMod. Or I feel like saying post JMod is like afterward. Yeah, but that does mean afterward. Now that he is a JMod. And then we'll get him on post JMod, whenever that happens. From Islands of Mystery to the Island of Risk, Mod Mank's Game Jam project welcomes you to Revenant Island. That is terrifying. Since the removal of multi-combat at the Revenant Caves, the wilderness is lacking in hotspots for multi-teams. Often, the risk versus reward doesn't quite hit the mark in our existing content. But at the same time, we don't want to go back to the dark days of players being locked out of exciting activities by powerful clans blocking off entire areas of the game. Revenant Islands aims to solve these problems. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, if there already is a normal Revenant cave, I don't actually think it's that bad to go back to the dark days. Like that, I know that might be a hot take, and probably because I'm not going to be a part of it. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to go to the normal Rev caves. But if there are two separate locations, what really is the problem of having one that's like full on mob rule multi, and then having like the normal cave where like, just like sane people can go to? I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. Let me know down in the comments, boys. Located off the eastern shore of the wilderness, above level 30 sits a not too distant bit of land, only accessible via a ship. You'll also need 50k GP, which will be lost upon death on the... Dude, 50k? Like, we are living in 2023. It'll be 2024, 2025 by then. 50k is literally nothing. I mean, yeah, we gotta crank up those prices, boys. All right. This is a high risk, barely, high reward area. There's only one way in and one way out, so you can leave the teleports at home. Revenant Island will promote multi-combat PvP gameplay, with areas both above and below ground for you to engage in thrilling battles against other players. Below, you'll find a dungeon similar to the old Revenant Caves, with plenty of walls to encourage hugging. And we don't mean a quick cuddle. There will be multiple escape routes. Wait, what? I thought they said there was one way in, one way out. There will be multiple escape routes, so players aren't guaranteed death if they choose to engage in the content here. Oh, wait. This place has the... Is this like talking about the above section? Let's find out. If they choose to engage with the content here. There'll be plenty of variety to these routes, so there's a bit of a strategic gameplay in picking the one that advantages you the most. Of course, there'll be fitting requirements to meet before you can use them all. Okay, interesting. Obviously, the main allure of this area is the opportunity to kill fellow players and yoink their loot, but there are also a group of revenants that call this island home. Aww. Not only can multiple players attack the revenants at once, they'll also be in a small consolidated area, creating less downtime when killing them. We'd also like to increase the rate at which these superior creatures can spawn, creating lots of opportunities to grab more loot. The spiciest reward of them all, though, will be the Revenant Collector. This magical item magically collects drops from NPCs while the user is in the wilderness. Holy fuck! That's crazy. Provided you have the space, of course. You will, however, need 500,000 GP to activate it, which will be awarded to any player that kills you. That's genius. That's genius. Great job, Jagex, or Mod Banked. That is such a cool item for the wilderness. I've always wanted something like that just like auto picks up stuff. Like, we already kind of have that with certain things like ammo and stuff, but being in the wilderness, like, I'm just thinking of lava dragons right now. Like, I remember when I was killing lava dragons for Elite Clues years back, I always wished either like Telegrab didn't have the stupidest delay, which, by the way, come on, Jagex, like, Telegrab needs to be fixed. That shit is so archaic and ancient. It should not take, I think it depends on how far the loot is away, but it's like a legitimate 5 ticks of like not being able to interact with anything else in the game while you just watch this fucking purple ball pick up your loot. Like, if Telegrab was instantaneous or just like one tickable, where it's just like boom, 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 I got my stuff, let's go. That would be amazing. And that would actually be highly used in certain situations. A lot of situations. Like, there are so many to list right now. I'm not even going to, like, I'll just mention one. Other one is like brutal black dragons. One of the most annoying things is like trying to loot brutal black dragons, and like one of the brutal black dragons is there and just fucking melees you like a 25 like while you're trying to grab stuff. So it would be cool to kind of safe spot those and be able to like just grab it. Anyway, just something to consider. But yeah, this is a genius idea. Plus, it's not like it costs you every time. It just costs you when you die. Project Rebalance by mods Arcane, Halo, Husky, and Kieran. Moving away from the brand new things, this team used their game jam time to decide how we should improve older content. Ooh, I like that. I really do like that. We've seen many conversations over the years, both from our community and within the team, about healthy changes we could make to help the game feel more well-rounded. From skills to equipment and even changes to certain NPCs. There's a lot to look forward to. There isn't room in this blog to get into the details, but you can expect more information about the exact changes we want to make very soon. Not least because we'd like to make them in January and we need your feedback ASAP. What's more, we don't just want you to make your decision based on a bunch of numbers in a blog. We want you to get your hands on and experience the difference these changes make for yourselves. To that end, we'll be holding a beta to complement an upcoming blog with a detailed breakdown of all the changes we're making. We're also aware of ongoing discussions surrounding the Scythe of Viter and Osmumten's Fang. I'm surprised they didn't say and the Osmumten's Fang. Shout out Jagex for catching that. These are part of the discussions we're having internally as well, and it may be that we highlight our plans for these items much earlier than the other rebalancing changes. Either way, please rest assured that you won't have to wait long to hear more about this project. Okay. Sailing Quest by mods Bruno, Elena, Errol, Halo, and Other. Wait, mod Other's a guy? Let me see this. Mod Other. Okay, so it's not just saying like Other, like etc. Like it's just, there's a mod Pumpkin? Oh my god, that is so cute. Who's mod Pumpkin? There are so many mods nowadays. Jesus Christ. All right, let's see. Quests are a fundamental part of old school RuneScape. We go beyond killing 10 boars to bring you exciting stories from all over Gielinor filled with puzzles to solve, evil to defeat, and hapless citizens in need of help. Gielinor's vast ocean is no different, and that's why this Game Jam team used their time to come up with a collection of seafaring quests that introduce new places and characters while remaining tied to the traditional questing gameplay you know and love. We got started with not one, not two, but 4 quests during Game Jam. Each of the first 3 quests is designed to tell a standalone story while building up to a thrilling conclusion in the 4th and final, for now, tale. Without dropping any spoilers, these quests contain desert islands filled with fiendish puzzles, tricky Tortugan trials, a very rude sword, and more cursed items than you can shake a hook at. Huh? Shake a hook at? Is that a term? We can't wait to share more with you further down the line. But for now, we hope this gives you some idea of the sheer variety of stories we can tell at sea. Very cool. Intensive skill. Ooh, mods. Okay, you know it's gonna be fucking popping when it's mod Elena and Goblin and I don't actually know who mod Rice is. I'll be honest, but like he's probably fucking badass if he's involved in this. From one integral mechanic to another, let's talk about skilling. Leveling up is one of the most exciting parts of old school RuneScape, and our skill diversity is one of our biggest selling points. However, for mid to high level players, skilling is seen as a means to an end. Yeah, that is true. A grind to complete before you can access the most fun parts of the game. Our most elaborate, engaging mechanics are typically reserved for PvM combat, but this Game Jam team sought to change that. Amen. Our goal was to get more players to enjoy skilling, instead of seeing it as an obstacle on the path to the end game. But we also want to cater to players who love skilling just the way it is. We know that players love fast-paced, mechanically challenging combat content like raids and bosses, so we've explored how we could design similar content that focuses on skills. We do think that skilling should feel different to PvM, thematically, and it definitely does. Even skill-based bosses like the Wintertodd feel more like skilling than combat. This is because it preserves the elements of rhythm and repetition that skilling thrives. I would not be saying rhythm there. I guess it depends on your definition of that. And repetition that skilling thrives on. A learning we're definitely building into our designs. We want to ensure that, unlike combat, exciting new ways to train are still peppered all throughout your journey to 99 instead of all being unlocked at the end. On that note, we sought out options that went beyond skill bossing. After all, we want skilling to be engaging even when you don't have a giant enemy monster looming over you. More intensive training methods also give us the opportunity to feed skills back into themselves and integrate them with other skills they might not have meshed well with in the past. There's even potential to have combat upgrades as part of the reward space, bringing things full circle. While our top priority this game jam was thinking up some content, some of which you'll see further down the blog, we've also focused on creating an accessible method of tick manipulation. Oh my god! Wait, we've also focused on creating an accessible method of tick manipulation. I don't know what that means, but I have a fucking feeling. Although we've never officially made this a strategy before, we recognize that it's a popular technique and would like to create content that encourages players to give it a go. Having mastered tick manipulation in a relatively safe but engaging skilling activity, players will be well equipped to use it against a big, scary boss when they encounter one, and we can do the same thing with other PVM-esque mechanics. Now you know what we're going for. Let's see how Mod Rice puts these ideas into practice. First of all, I'm very excited about that. Obviously, you guys are all just thinking of this fucking Saybase, thinking of a gnome cube, and that is not what they're thinking of at all. Who knows? But yeah, I think the biggest important. This is just, I'm gonna share my 2 cents right here. Biggest thing is like for skilling is, and I've talked about this repeatedly, basically, of like PVM is really fun because there is rhythm, and it doesn't really feel like you're in a rhythm. Or, I mean, I guess it does feel like you're in a rhythm, but it's like, that is not the focus of it. The focus of it is like killing a boss. And so, you know, you think of like 4-to-1 Olm, you think of the Verzik P2 where you're going back and forth every 4 ticks. You're thinking of Zarpus, you know, using that 5-tick cycle. It's just, everything in PVM is very nice and has a good flow to it. But the thing it doesn't have, generally speaking, is a lot of like click intensity. Like you're not having to click 4 times just to click back on the boss. You just click once and then step back. And obviously, if you wanted to like do, because somebody brought up the example of like 4-to-0 Olm where you do have like an 8-way switch every single 4 ticks and it's just crazy, you know, going crazy. But the reason you're doing that is to maximize your DPS. There's no inherent like need to do that. You could just do like a 2-way switch or a 1-way switch, or a 0-way switch when you're rocking it, you know. But yeah, so I think what's important is like in skilling, just centering things around rhythm and enjoyability and keeping like this nice fast-paced sort of rhythm. It doesn't even need to be fast-paced, but that's generally when the rhythm starts clicking with you and it feels good. So instead of having it be like a huge click fest where it's just like, holy shit, too many clicks going on at once and I can't do this long-term. Because skilling really is about long-term stuff. PVM is generally focused on like a high-intensity thing, getting a reward. Skilling is like, do this for 300 goddamn hours in the same pattern. So that's why it needs to be less click-intensive, in my opinion, than PVM. Okay. Although there still are options for it to be more click-intensive if you choose to. Okay, a skilling activity, Rapids Harpoon Fishing. This fast-paced fishing activity delivers a more intensive version of harpoon fishing. Rather than simply clicking the spot and tapping out, this activity challenges you to predict your target's movement and react swiftly to get the catch. While stood on the bridge, you'll see fish swimming downstream through 3 different columns at varying speeds. The fish always spawn at regular intervals, but they move at varying speeds. Click the right fish at the right time and you'll have an improved chance to catch the fish. Sometimes 2 fish might spawn at once, but watch out. One of them will be a big fish or a poisonous fish. Big ones award additional resources on a successful catch, but poisonous ones will destroy a percentage of the fish in your inventory, and they're a guaranteed catch. I'm just imagining this is like Guitar Hero where you're like sitting on like the fucking bridge and there's just 3 things going. This sounds like already really cool. I always am curious about like how these things will actually be implemented, because in theory, like things sound fun on paper and stuff, and then you actually start doing it for a little bit and you're like, holy shit, I hate this. Like for example, aerial fishing kind of sounds pretty fun and chill, but then when you're actually doing it, it's like, I want to leave now. So it really depends on what they're trying to get. But like this is really cool. Like having like a 3-spot system where there's just like you're going back and forth. And if it feels rhythmic and if it doesn't feel like super punishing and it feels like you can continually have a successful like go with it without RNG being a factor, that would be amazing. Both of these unusual fish types award the same amount of XP, so if you're a canny player who wants to maximize your fishing time, you can aim for the poisonous ones to free up some inventory space. Alternatively, if you're hoping to build your supplies, you'll want to aim for the big fish so you can get back to the bank faster. This kind of on-the-fly decision-making is at the heart of our plans for skilling. That is important as well. The decision-making, like strategy, can be involved. Now, I will say it should be very minimal strategy. This is, again, my opinions. I'm just throwing out shit here, so you guys can just completely discard this. But I'm just fascinated with this like area of the game of like improving skilling and making it like genuinely fun to do long term. That is so important. And so sometimes when there's too much thinking involved, it becomes a chore. Like the one of the most beautiful parts about skilling, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, is the fact that sometimes it takes a little bit of getting used to, but at some point it becomes almost brain dead and a kind of flow state. Now, that does not mean that there can't be any strategy involved. The strategy just has to be simple enough and just like kind of like repeatable enough without being just so annoying to like keep, like imagine having to keep track of like 5 different things going on. It's just like too much to ever get into that flow state. And I really do think with skilling, and again, like I said earlier, skilling is long term. Like it genuinely takes hundreds of hours sometimes for certain skills to get to 99. And the last thing you want in a situation like that is to have to just be constantly brain on, like, oh my God, like there's just too much going on, and not getting, for example, like in PVM, your brain's constantly on, but you're constantly getting massive rewards for like those super high things. With skilling, it's a very slow drip of rewards, generally speaking, or sometimes no reward at all, which is a problem. There needs to be rewards. So that kind of like slow, steady grind that initially takes a little bit of practice, but then you get into that flow state, I think is very important. So, yeah, like one of the best examples of strategy currently is like 1.5 tick teaks. There actually is strategy involved in that because you have to have your brain on just slightly to know like when a tree is about to respawn, and that strategy can help save you a lot of XP per hour if you're aware, like in the back of your mind, aware of like when trees are going to spawn next. And over time you start seeing patterns of, okay, this tree will spawn again at this tick because I've done this for so long, and I can start seeing patterns. So that's like a really great example of strategic gameplay where like you do have that little strategy in the back of your mind, but it's not anything where there's just so many factors going on in play and your brain is constantly having to be like super engaged. So anyway, this activity also provides an opportunity to get to grips with tick manipulation. Players can quickly attach a rope to their harpoon to gain beneficial effects. And you'll want to do it quickly because these fish aren't waiting around. Don't worry, tick manipulation isn't required to participate in the activity, but players who master it will be rewarded with higher catch rates. Skilling encounter, Mud Boy. Mud Boy. Okay. This mining encounter blends the themes and mechanics of mining with PVM-oriented mechanics. The Mud Boy begins the fight lurking just below the surface. Players must mine the pillars in his boss room to release the lava. I've never heard of that before. Kill pillars and then kill the boss later? Let me guess, is there 4 pillars? Okay, I gotta stop being so sarcastic. I feel like the pillar situation in most games has just been a recipe for success, generally speaking. So I don't really blame people for going down that route. But yeah, we do see a lot of pillars in this game. Within the force the creature out. It will then attempt to reseal the columns by flinging mud, all while attacking the players. Dodge the mud, mine the pillars, and whittle down the monster's health to proceed to the next stage of the fight. At a certain health percentage, the Mud Boy will become rock. which means it's now mineable. Keep out of the way of its devastating ground-targeted attacks while mining as much as you can. This is another skilling activity where tick manipulation is an advantage. It's possible in both phases of the fight and, when done correctly, means that players will never have to miss a mining action to dodge an attack. This is a challenging mechanic, but we've no doubts that our more dedicated skillers will pick it up in no time. For everyone else, this encounter provides a good opportunity to master the technique, or build upon the knowledge you gained while harpooning fish. And that's it. These examples just about cover the differences between a skilling encounter and a skilling activity. We hope you agree that they preserve the unique rhythm of skilling while adding all the best parts of PVM. And we're excited to hear what you think. Sailing Mini Raid by mods Hend, Skylark, and West. Captain Nakahi was a famed pirate known across the seas for his sailing prowess. He led his crew to endless amounts of treasure, but no bounty could satisfy Nakahi's greed. One day, the crew discovered a stash of buried treasure. While the rest of the crew squabbled over their shares, Nakahi was drawn to what appeared to be an ordinary human skull. Oh my god. Nakahi, however, could tell it wasn't normal at all, but possessed of powerful magical energy from an unknown entity. Excuse me. Nakahi investigated the artifact and discovered that whoever wielded it had the power to control others. Lured by the promise of such power, Nakahi used it to curse his crew and banish them to the ends of the ocean. He then searched for a suitable lair, killing the original inhabitants and cursing the few survivors to protect the skull with their very lives. But Nakahi still isn't satisfied. His next goal is to rule over the oceans of Gielinor, and you have to stop him. This raid is aimed at mid to high level players with moderate sailing levels. Like other raids, Coves of Nakahi will have a lobby where players can group up, in this case a small island outside the coves. Once grouped up, players will sail from the islands to the coves. Although the fights are linear, the path through the coves will require some backtracking. On the way, they'll defeat Nalukai, the cursed serpent, Cleori, the cursed mermaid, and Eremiti, the cursed crab under Nakahi's control. Defeat all the bosses and you'll have a chance to get some unique rewards, perhaps including, first of all, these are like fucking sick. Like, damn, they went pretty hard on this graphic right here. Nalukai's Robes, a new mid-level magic set with a sailing-themed set effect. For example, bonus magic damage while attacking monsters at sea. Serpent Staff, a new mid-level staff with a special attack. Raid Cape, a new set of tiered capes like the one in Cox, Tob, and Toa, tier 5 pictured. Mermaid Figurehead, a figurehead modeled after the Cleori, which players can use to customize their ship. Mermaid Flag, a mermaid-themed flag players can use to customize their ship. Hermit Crab Shell Fragment, a tough crafting material which can be converted into defensive plating for ships. Eremiti Pet, with a transmog for Nalukai and Cleori. As a reminder, these are all just ideas. If the raid ever enters the game, you can expect each reward to be refined based on your feedback. So be sure to tell us what you think in the survey below. Ooh, that's a dope cape. Oh my god. It's amazing. And it has like those like wrist or those shoulder straps. Yeah, it looks sick. It's a cool staff too. Team Ramble. Just kidding. It says Rumble. I was hoping it was Team Ramble though. By Mod Sarni. Mod Sarni has been dipping his toes into PvP and designing a fresh team-based experience, Team Rumble. Before we start, we've got a little message from Mod Sarni. I'm going to front this Game Jam project with the fact that I'm not an avid PvPer, probably far from it, and I do believe there are people on the team that can do a far better job in making sure the core PvP experience can be made better. This project was more about something that I thought would be a fun and exciting way to give you all a fresh team-based experience in the form of Team Rumble. This pitch is all about utilizing cool environments in the game that don't see a lot of use currently. Essentially, it's a Counter-Strike style mode for old school PvP. These were the aims: team-based PvP, versatility and replayability, accessible for new and returning players, and competitive potential, ranking system, events, and tournaments. In Team Rumble, 2 teams of 5 to 6 players are spawned into their chosen arena. Each arena has a unique objective. All players start with the same stats, tokens, and equipment. The Rumble set, which can be upgraded in 4 different ways. Finesse Rumble Armor, minor boost to all stats. Warrior Rumble Armor, major boost to melee, vulnerable to magic. Hunter Rumble Armor, major boost to range, vulnerability to melee. And Magician Rumble Armor, major boost to magic, vulnerability to range. At the start of the round, players have 45 seconds to purchase more equipment and supplies using their tokens. They can choose from a range of gear, items, and unlocks that can switch up their strategy. Protection prayers, new spellbooks, armor, and weapon upgrades, and more. During the minigame itself, the focus is about battling other players and working towards the map objectives. Each round lasts around 2 minutes, so combat is fast-paced and fun. Each time you earn points for your team by completing objectives or defeating opponents, you'll earn extra tokens to spend on better equipment in the upcoming rounds. If you die within a round, you'll drop all your items. Any player can pick them up, except the armor, and next round, you'll be bumped back to the basic equipment. Once players reach round 6, holy shit, I'm losing it. All upgrades are reset, so even if the winning team are storming ahead, there's always a chance to catch up. Players also have the ability to drop items on the floor for their teammates, allowing the strongest players on the team to help out the weakest. We already have a few ideas for what the arenas and associated objectives might look like. Haunted Mine, Team Deathmatch. Rack up kills over the rounds to score points for your team. Using the environmental hazards to kill your opponents will net you more points. Elemental Workshop, Control. Take over and protect different areas of the workshop in order, gain enough points, and you'll unlock a powerful weapon for a brief time. Keldegrim Rat Pits, Cats versus Rats. Defeat the enemy team and their creature companions to earn points. When designing a project like this, there's always the question of what gear we should include. While initially we thought about adding familiar weapons and armor, this didn't provide the level of coordination we were hoping for. This kind of team-based strategy is something we haven't tried in old school RuneScape before, so to keep gameplay fresh, Mod Sarni designed some new weapons especially for this minigame. So, with that in mind, I've designed some top-level new weapons that try and do exactly what they say, including some new interesting utility items. So I'm not going to go all into this for those listening on Spotify, but basically it's a table with melee, magic, range, and spec weapons with different weapons, like a powered, I thought it said powdered whip. Jeez, it's such a fat thing to think, like powdered whip. Oh my God. Standard, speed, stat reduction, multiple enemies, high reserve reward. Anyway, so they're just listing a bunch of different weapons. Ooh, high damage expensive on the spec is called Great Sword of Grandeur. Holy shit. Yeah, anyway, it looks pretty cool. It would be interesting to actually see a successful implementation of a CSGO sort of thing going on where I don't even know how this would work, because in with the mini map with RuneScape, the fact that RuneScape is third person, it's just, I don't know if you'll ever be able to have a map where you can hide behind walls and stuff. Maybe it could be implemented, to be honest, and there even could be a mini map where the mini map shows where people just were or something, but the actual game hides players that are not in your line of sight. I don't know how that would work, but then I just think what would be really cool is to be able to do tick perfect attacks sort of against your opponent. And if you can somehow pull that off successfully, then you kill them. Interesting. I don't know. Standard Plus. These weapons would be slightly more powerful than their standard counterpart. A cheap upgrade for a small boost. Speed. Although these speedy weapons will have next to base damage, the extra speed can make it better for DPS in combination with the right armor. Stat reduction. While these weapons don't pack a punch on their own, they lower your opponent's stats and give an advantage to the rest of your team. Multiple enemies. As the name suggests, this effect lets you deal damage to multiple enemies at once in exchange for slightly lower damage. Risk versus reward. Much like the Great Axe of the Mighty Darok, these weapons give great damage output at the cost of your hit points. Good for coming in hot when things are looking rough. High damage expensive. These powerful weapons cost a lot of tokens, but the damage output makes them worth it. Utility. These weapons provide something the others don't. Utility. Colossal Shield. This gives huge defensive advantages while removing the option to attack. Keep the enemy team occupied while your teammates go on the offensive. Nature's Blessing. This item buffs support spells dramatically, allowing you to focus on keeping your team fighting fit. Rumbled Salamander. If you don't want to think too much about swapping between weapons, this gives you a bit of everything. Chaotic Orb. Use this orb's chaotic energy to debuff your foes and change the tide of combat. Ideally, we'd like to add a matchmaking and ranking system which would make finding and playing games easy and encouraging. Mod Sarni would really like to hear your thoughts on rewards. PvP is a difficult space to design for, so your feedback would be very valuable here. For those of you wondering about Mod Sarni's previous Game Jam project, the OSRS TCG, he's been hard at work on it behind the scenes. It's currently on version 7 with further testing happening very soon. So I'll be honest, with the rewards, this is just my own thoughts on the reward space for something like this if it were to be implemented, is it cannot be GP incentivized, because then you're just going to have teams running against bot teams and just fucking decimating them. Elo needs to be a part of this. Like, you need to be facing higher level teams the more you get up. And all the reward space should be, unfortunately or fortunately, is like cosmetics. I'm sorry. Like, it's just the way it has to be with a mini game like this, because there's just way too much potential for abuse and just like creating two different teams that just go head to head and one always wins just easily. So yeah, and I don't know, like something like this could be really, really cool. And there's like so much freedom to balance it correctly that like tournaments like live streamed on Twitch or something would be so fun to watch if you get like the good camera angles and stuff like you see in CSGO matches on Twitch, or like the tournaments. That would be really cool. Procedurally generated islands and caverns by mods Ed, Lenny, Meat, and Rye. Mod Meat. Oh my god. Over the years, Old School has taken a few runs at procedurally generating content with Chambers of Xeric and the Gauntlet, but there's still so much more that could be done with it. RuneScape, on the other hand, has made use of much more intricate procedurally generated technology to really push the boundaries of what's possible in the game. For this game jam, this team decided to see how Old School could make use of the same technology. The main goal was to create a set of systems for procedural generation that could be used for all kinds of content. As such, the team hasn't put too much focus on the content itself, just some proof of concept to show off what this technology can do. Those of you who are familiar with RuneScape may remember, I'm getting like a fucking seizure from just seeing this in the corner of my eye, may remember the Uncharted Isles, which sees players exploring randomly generated islands and claim them to revisit at a later date. This kind of map generation can be applied to all kinds of content, not just islands. When we started experimenting with it in Old School, we decided to keep things familiar by copying island generation as is, with the same context. Once we saw that the port worked well and procedural generation was possible, we started thinking about how we could dress the content up differently. How flexible was the system? With sailing in mind, we decided to expand the system to include underwater caverns, as well as unexplored islands. In this deep dive, we ironed out a lot of the system behind it all and started to experiment with adding different kinds of content to the generated spaces. We can still see room for improvements before we try to make this technology before we take this technology further in the future. But it's clear that the technology works and can be used to create a new area and populate it with various things to do. With that in mind, we thought about how we might present it to you lot. One of the coolest things about generating areas this way is that while they're being generated random, I'm like the more times going on, I'm just fucking like making so many mistakes. I'm so sorry. We can ensure this is a long ass blog, I'll be honest, it's 45 minutes already. We can ensure the same random generation will appear again and again if we so desire. Players can reliably discover the same islands and caverns again and again, discovering their favorites and sticking to them. These aren't private instances either. Although these islands won't appear on the world map in a way we'd recognize, we can still group players together in the same place so they can enjoy the content there together. Let's address the elephant in the room. You probably remember a pretty significant piece of procedurally generated content in RuneScape that took a very different approach to area generation than the one we've used here. We're talking about the maze generation systems behind Dungeoneering. Dungeoneering is an absolutely massive piece of content, and with just 2 weeks of time to work on this project, we had no hope of putting together something that resembles your memories of Daemonheim. Instead, we again focused on the system itself. How could we use this technology to create more intricate mazes than the Gauntlet has to offer in the same grid-based format? Whether we decide to make something on the scale of Dungeoneering in future or just want a gnarly maze as part of the quest, there are lots of applications for this technology. So why not take the time to see if we could get that tech up and running too? This maze may not look like much, but it proves that all the infrastructure is in the place for us to create winding mazes with rooms locked behind puzzles or encounters. We have the option to keep things bare bones with only a critical path to follow, or to add more space for exploration and discovery. There you have it. Although this project has been mostly behind the scenes work rather than a fleshed out piece of content, we hope that this work has opened up exciting new avenues for content to come. That's all for Game Jam 4. As always, we'd love to know what you think about all of these projects. You can tell us your favorites via the usual social channels, but if you have some specific feedback you'd like to share, we'd really appreciate it if you could fill out the survey below. If you'd like to fill out the survey outside of this news post, then click here. Okay, so fill this out, boys, down in the description. You can also discuss this update on our official forums on the 2007 Escape subreddit, the Steam forums, or the community-led OSR's Discord in the #GameUpdate channel. For more info on the above content, check out the official Old School Wiki. All right, these were really cool projects. I'll be honest, like a lot of these are pretty cool. Obviously, they can't invest too much time into it to make it look like super flashy and stuff because obviously it's just Game Jam. But it would be really cool to see some of these be implemented in the game. I really love that they are talking about like rebalancing older content. I think that's so important. And of course, the intensive skilling part were my favorites. So I'm really excited. Great job, JMods, on this. I think this is all really cool. Let me know what you guys think, those listening, down in the comments. What are your favorite projects? What are you looking forward to most? What scares you potentially? You know, I know there's some purists that watch my content that are probably like, fuck all of this. But yeah, so just let me know what all of you guys think. I'd love to hear it. And be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. And subscribe for more Rambles and Sebe casts. Also, tonight, I will be having Zandy on the Sebe cast. And that should be uploaded probably tomorrow morning. So look forward to that. He's a really good guy. He streams on Twitch. He's like the hard style, hardcore Iron Man. Well, I think his hardcore Iron Man died, but PVMer. So anyway, look forward to that. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.